Hey, everybody, on this episode of the GH Report, church confessions, childhood custody battles, and frustrations mounting. All this and more on the GH Report.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hey, what do you know? What do you say? It's that time of the week when this song plays. That means we do the GH Report right here on AFTERBUZZ TV. Hey, everybody, James Lott Jr., he is away. He's so popular, he can't just spend the evening here with us. He's got to go share his awesomeness with the world. So now it's just Lacretia and I doing this. I'm one of your hosts, Frank Moran. You can follow me on Twitter at HappyGoJackie.
And since I'm Lacretia Lyon, guys, you can always find me at LACRETIALYON anywhere on the internet, since there is only one. And with that intro, I half expected it to be a Law and Order Special Victims Unit after show instead. You're like, crime, priest, what's going on? Dun, dun.
So, folks, you can like us on Facebook. You can give us those 5 stars on iTunes. You can also subscribe to the YouTube channel or hop in the chat. Look at Lucretia's got her laptop right here. That means she's got the confession room.
Yeah.
The confession room. Confess your sins to us. The chat room going. So feel free to share your thoughts about this week's episodes or just the show in general. And we're just gonna start rolling here. We'll see how quickly the chat room turns against us, as I like to say.
Exactly.
Not my most favoritist week of GH.
Yeah, there were good parts of it. I did like that they brought back Elizabeth's rapist. That was interesting, and that I'd like to see where this goes with Alexis. And there were some things I sort of half expected Alexis to have murdered him.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was interesting. Yeah. But I guess we'll just kick things off with the storyline that's been frustrating me for many, 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 many weeks, and did nothing to help alleviate that this week. And that is Sonny in the church. With that super long just confession scene. I'm like, oh man, you're killing me.
I know. Kelly from PEI had sent me a tweet about, sorry, Sonny lives to live another day. Thank you so much, Kelly. It was, at least I didn't have to wait and watch the whole episode for that.
It's just, the frustrating thing is, I know we talked about this a while ago, and we had thrown out the theory that, guess what? Somebody else is probably going to be responsible for Morgan's bomb, and it's not going to be Sonny. So, which turned out to be the case. So we've just spent like the past almost month of just all this just mired in just, recriminations and anguish. And then watching this just really prolonged church, like near confession. And then she's like, hey, guess what? You know what, Sonny, you didn't do it. So, hey, let's figure out who did. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
All right.
Well, and it was just, what kind of a selfish piece of crap, pardon my language here, is Sonny? Like, it's your son's funeral. The rest of the family, other than Christina, who needs to be smacked, by the way, didn't really want you there. And because whether he actually had the guy plant the bomb or not, and this is where I'm really respecting Carly right now, it doesn't matter. It's your mob violence that led to this death, as well as Morgan's downward spiral and all that. But would he been in harm's way if it wasn't for Sonny being a mobster? Probably not.
No, that's true. And for some reason, I feel like it's brought up, but it's never really, we never hear Sonny really even dealing with that when anybody else says, hey, guess what, Sonny, you've got 4 other kids to worry about too. Yeah. And Sonny just always seems to just brush that off. I'm like, why aren't we dealing with this where you've got 4 other kids dealing with this?
Yeah, and not to mention the fact that they're dealing with that, and then you come in and act like you're going to kill yourself and do this big confession, make everything about you, like he always does. And again, like the way Christina acted with Jax being there for Jocelyn, I'm like, I don't really care about her feelings, but Dante, Michael, Avery, even though she's a baby not really understanding this, you still need to think about her.
Yeah, and it was just, what was so irritating too about that confession scene too is that, Jordan is crashing that just because you never know what happens at churches, emotions can run high, and who knows who could say something. But for her to just stand up, so are you confessing to this, Mr. Garinthos? I'm like, oh, really? Right now? Oh, come on.
Yeah, Jordan's getting up there with Sonny on just getting on my nerves all the time, and it's just like, you need to take a step back. It's like you don't crash a funeral of, as bad as Sonny is, the dad of the kid who's dead here to arrest him. Pretty much is what she was hoping for. It's like, is he going to say something?
Yeah, and, it's just like, we as the audience thought, like, everything he was saying in there, he did not confess. But, I mean, he was just basically just accepting all the responsibility. So, I mean, while he said nothing that was incriminating, I mean, you could just easily, like, as a police commissioner, I'm just thinking, like, anybody, watching him, he's just basically just accepting all this responsibility. He's just crushed by this guilt or just this loss of his son. Why are you trying right now to make that, like, I'm gonna arrest him just based on this? Like, get some evidence, get something, get on this.
Yeah.
Not just take this guy that just at the lowest point of his life about the death of his son, just willing to just accept everything.
Yeah, and to me too, it's just like Andre even said something and she got so offended by why was she there. He feels guilty because he couldn't save Morgan and she's there because she wants to get his dad for the crime. It's like,
Oh, yeah. And I felt bad for Andre too at that wedding because Carly was still, even after reading that journal and seeing something was off with his meds, and I guess maybe she's thinking that Maddox didn't give him the right dosage or whatnot. I mean, not what we all know that, of course, the medication was mixed up, but just still, man, he's just getting nothing but the cold shoulder from Carly. I feel bad for him.
yeah. It's like, yeah, where's my Anna and Andre scenes? Because he needs a little bit of a pick-me-up,
Yeah, for sure. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And then it just became awkward. What really irritated me most about this scene is that we know Jason finds out that he spoke to the broker. This wasn't something that Sonny had set in motion. That guy was going to set it up to look like he slipped in the shower, broke his neck or something like that. A real accident. A bomb would have been too showy. So Jason has this, and then he just sits on it for so long, and every time he tries to say something, Sonny's, well, no. And then Jason just like, okay. Like, why are you just yank that guy, pull him outside, and just start telling him what the deal is? I felt like it took so long just to get to the point of him actually hearing that information. It was driving me bonkers that whole week.
Yeah, this whole storyline took way too long to get to the point.
I mean, it was so frustrating to think that they set this funeral up to be like 3 weeks from when everything happened, and so we had to just endure 3 weeks. And I thought like there might be some bigger payoff, but the only payoff was like, oh no, it's just we know it's not Sonny that did it. That was the only payoff we get from this.
To me, the only payoff, in my opinion, is Jax coming back and being a part of it and saying, I loved Morgan too. To be honest, Jax's presence is sort of saving this whole thing because he is where he needs to be and he's with the people he needs to be. Carly, Jocelyn, and Alexis. Like he's also got that storyline later. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder sometimes because, like, especially with Jax, because I don't think either of us, and I don't know how many of the fans felt about when he first came back on, because he was just not really used to
not
really,
at all, yeah.
So, but I don't know if the way the writers work, they say like, all right, we know it's going to be kind of terrible at first, but we have to have him here in a few days or plant the seeds so that we can bring him back a few months from now to really kick in his storyline. I don't know if that's how they think in the writers' room.
Maybe, and it may have to do with his availability since he does live in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's just jump into Jax. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it was great to have him back in there, and I mean, because I don't know if you had to choose between. Well, I already know how you feel about Sonny.
Yes,
You're not the
exactly.
hugest Sonny fan.
Yeah.
As impartial as you can be, which dynamic did you enjoy more, Sonny and Carly or Jax and Carly?
Jax and Carly, because I will say I'm really respecting Carly in this Sonny storyline because, yeah, she's not backing down. And that Jax is the one to be there. And even in their last conversation about, she could see the big differences between Sonny and Jax and not just good guy, bad guy, because she sees Jax for all his flaws. And I liked that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was nice when they had that moment where he said, like, I'll give you one of my wheatgrass smoothies that you end up dumping in the plant. So, you knew? Oh, you always saw me do that. All right.
That was cute.
Yeah.
And it was a nice change from the grieving for Morgan. And yeah, people tend to agree with us, on the Sonny's confession and things like that. So far, they're not hating on us yet, Frank.
All right, man, guys. We're like 6-7 minutes in. It's going strong. Fingers crossed. Before we jump more into Jax, one last thing about as we're talking about Carly and Sonny, the talk in the jail cell. Where you were mentioning earlier, where Carly's like, hey, are you going to accept any kind of responsibility? Would just change your mind now that you're not responsible for the bomb? Does it change what you do? Would you retaliate if you find out who's responsible? Would you kill this person? And I do like that Sonny says, I know the answer you want me to say, but I can't give that to you right now. And I at least like
Yeah.
that moment of honesty from him.
Yeah, I would agree that that was probably Sonny's best moment this week because at least he was honest. Because normally he always comes up with some BS like, "Oh, I had to do it," makes excuses. But at least this time he's like, "Yeah, I was gonna do it." Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and I'm hoping that he can. I don't know. I don't know. It's I don't know. I don't know if you can successfully run a mob without violence being a part of it. I mean, it just, and if you don't want that to be a part of your life, then you need to just be out of the mob. And if Sonny can't get out of the mob, which it seems like he's too far in, as basically his whole life has been mob related. So then I guess it's up to Carly to decide, like, hey, is this what I want or not?
Yeah, I mean, and hopefully it sticks, but I have a feeling eventually it always comes back around.
All right, so, you know, it seemed like the last time they got married, and we even talked about this too, where it's like, all right, man, they have to be together for the long haul for this, because if they break them up again, I would never want to see them put back together, because, like, how many times can you go back to that well? If they break up with this, would you be... I mean, I feel like they could break them up now, and I could definitely see the reasons for this, but then I would never want to see them paired together again.
Yeah, to me, I always thought that with Laura Wright in the role, who's honestly my favorite Carly, she never had the same chemistry that Sarah Joy Brown and Tamara Braun had with Maurice Bernard. And I always felt that this version of Carly's true love was more Jax anyway. And so if we're going to have Jax for much longer than we thought, I'd rather see that again than Carly and Sonny get back together. Ugh.
Well, yeah, because I can't, the way that Carly is right now, and I can certainly appreciate her mindset and her view, and she wants to not have violence be part of her life. She's seen what it's done to one of her children. She doesn't want that. And if Sonny, you know, he's honest with himself, he knows he can't leave that life, then I feel like if they do split up because of that, I can't see Carly ever changing her mind saying, oh, you know what, I guess I can accept you being a mobster. I can't see that.
No, and especially even if Morgan turns up alive, much like when Michael got shot in the head, she had gone away from that and then came back eventually because he was okay. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to see that again. I don't want, if Morgan does turn out to be alive for whatever reason, I don't want her to all of a sudden forgive Sonny because, you know, you at least thought he was dead for this long.
Yeah, this feels like such a strong conviction for Carly that for her to ever at any point, if they split up, to all of a sudden come back to Sonny and say, you know what, let's give go number 6 a try. Like, Carly, what's up with you? Why are you backpedaling on this one? So so they have that little moment, but now we'll jump back into Jackson. He made waffles. What a guy.
Yeah. Who doesn't want a guy who makes waffles? Yeah.
But, you know, I will knock him points like, he just dropped some blueberries on top of that. I'm not a blueberry in my waffles kind of guy. No. At least unless the blueberries are in the waffles, don't toss them just on top. Come on, Jax, you're better than that.
Yeah, some whipped cream, dude. Yeah. You know, but I guess if he was in a hurry.
Or some Vegemite. But I like that scene there where they're sitting on their couch and Jocelyn comes up from behind him and she's like, oh, Mom and Dad are going to get back together. And I feel like this is such a rebound for Carly right now. While they may hook up in the short term, just have that one dalliance, at least for right now, I don't see this, especially with whatever secret Jax is keeping. I don't see this going long term. Yeah,
to me, it's one of those things that Jax should be honest with Carly, and the thing is I think he will be. And Carly is typically a hypocrite. I think she'll get really mad at Jax, and this is why he'll leave, according to Sarah C., on the 28th. But I foresee her forgiving Jax, and I don't think this will be the last we've seen of him, because this storyline seems to be ramping up, but it's not done. But maybe he'll be back for the next sweeps.
Because I think you had mentioned that he was interested in being involved more regularly with the show, correct?
Yes, that's what was in an article on Soap Opera Digest for Ingo Rademacher, that he really was interested in coming back more for a full-time basis.
Oh, that would be so cool. I mean, I would love to see him do that, especially if, I mean, you know, certainly Julian's got his things going on, but just seeing that storyline with taking the hospital and trying to convert it into condos, to have Jax come in as also another developer and try to go head-to-head with him would be, I'd love to see that stuff.
Well, especially because they both have ties to Alexis. That just seems way more interesting to see with this Julie and Alexis storyline, to have Jax more involved than, you know, some of the other possibilities they have.
Yeah, and speaking of Alexis, like, one of my favorite relationships on the show is the Jax-Alexis relationship, and I always enjoy when the two of them together. they have such a natural just dynamic between them. And this, man, it just, yeah, I mean, Alexis is going into some dark places. I mean, and to even see her kind of turning back on Jax a little bit, I was like, dang, Alexis, man, you really are starting to be in denial about what your issues are.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You're never in denial. You're awesome.
God, you just drink and you hook up with rapists.
Hey, man. It's just another Tuesday. I don't know.
But yeah, I've always liked the Jax and Alexis friendship because, like you say, they seem so natural and they are such good friends. And there's really nothing romantic with them at this point in their lives. And it is nice to see that male-female dynamic. And yeah, I liked that he got real with her. He told her about his problems, and then he's trying to help her with her, alcoholism. And I think that's the thing is where Jax is going to leave off. Hopefully Diane steps in.
Yeah, because to see Alexis turn, Jack's opening up his feelings to her, and then to see her turn that on him when he's trying to help her, just like, oh, Alexis, whoa, what are you doing? But what I like, though, is that Jax, you can tell that. I mean, he's kind of hurt, but he's not. He can see what Alexis is going through. So I mean, he's not angry, but he's just. But you can see the frustration because he wants her to get better and get help. But at least at this point, he can tell that she's not ready to acknowledge that she even has an issue.
Yes, and hopefully we learn more about what really happened with her and Tom, because obviously he's alive and well, but I think that there was more to that story that we have yet to see. But I kind of just wanted Alexis to wake up next to a dead body. Is that weird?
I thought for sure that's where it was going to go, because especially when I thought that she was going to open up the bathroom and he was going to be floating in that bathtub dead.
Or something, yeah.
Yes. And when it turned out to be nothing, I'm like, that was it?
Yeah,
that was
it
it?
was like,
Man, all right. I mean, I guess, I was so excited to see like a nice little murder mystery because I was not expecting those two storylines to dovetail at all.
Me neither. And that's why I was like, ooh, well, that'd be cool. Because then, Franco would be accused, she'd be accused, and it'd turn out to be like Julian or Jax or somebody, protecting Alexis. It's like, oh, that would have been a really good potential story.
The nice thing, though, is we get to see a bar that is not the Floating Rib or the Metro Cart, someplace outside of Port Charles, which you're telling me that you have to go outside of Port Charles to get some alone time with Alexis. There is not one other bar in Port Charles that is not the Metro Court or Floating Rib. Not one.
Apparently not. It's a small town, apparently.
Like, what? That is so crazy. A bar with only two choices, and one super upscale, and the one is just really just kind of like a little hole in the wall. That's it. That's the two bar options there in Port Charles. Because I also like that Alexis at the end says, hey, Jax, you go back. I'll get home on my own. Like, what? Where? I don't even know where you guys are at, but that does not seem like an easy thing to do if you're just on your own. I don't know if are you going to get an Uber driver out here? How are you getting back? What is happening? But it does cross over when we see Elizabeth's rapist happen to be in the bar, which kind of pulls the pin out of what you thought might have happened between Franco and the rapist. Because he gets an address from at the end of last week and goes over there this week. Yeah. After Obrecht and he have a little talk about should he be clear, tell the truth to Elizabeth or not. How did you like Franco's actions in the story? I
have to say, I really expected him to be more aggressive. For a Franco level, this really wasn't that bad. And even Elizabeth was like, okay, I just don't want you to get in trouble. I liked that Elizabeth's point of view was actually more about protecting him and not being in trouble, as opposed to thinking that action was so heinous. And to me, it's like, yeah, because she would be kind of a hypocrite considering Jason does that same thing. So Elizabeth's point of view in this really did make me like it a little bit more.
Now, did you think Franco was going to, his actions, did you think he was going to go potentially kill him? Do you think he was actually going to kill him? Or it's like, because we leave him just with the fire poker around his neck. And you're like, is he going to kill him? Is it what's going to happen? Break his neck or something? And then we cut to him already in the bar. So you're like, oh, he didn't do anything to him.
Yeah, I thought Franco was just going to scare him. I see if Franco saw him hurting Elizabeth or Kiki or somebody he cares about, I think he would go there. But at this point, they're trying so hard to make Franco seem just quirky, more like Dr. Finn, as opposed to murdery like some of the other characters. So I thought that they did a good job of just having him scare him.
But I feel like, certainly Franco, as originated by James Franco, has such a more malicious past. And then, of course, we, explained it all the way with the brain tumor, as that was the cause for all of this. But somebody that refuses to acknowledge that that brain tumor was the sole responsibility there, that there's more to Franco than just his brain tumor, is Sam and Jason, but definitely Sam for everything that happened to her. And no matter what Franco says, Sam will hear none of it.
And the thing is I totally understand why Jason and Sam hate Franco. They have every right to. But the thing is Sam is sort of seeming more like Carly, and in the way of she is just unable to see any of the good stuff Franco has done, and seems very hypocritical considering her relationship with people like Jason and Sonny, who also do heinous things. And Franco actually was being genuine in his apology, and I thought because of why he was again, apologizing, it made total sense, because he's like, this guy did this to Elizabeth, really, and I was playing games with Sam, and I did not understand the gravity of what I was doing at the time, but now I do. Franco was kind of in the right, and I understand Sam's point of view, but it was kind of crappy just to not even hear him out, especially considering his relationship with her stepson, Jake.
Yeah, it's, because they really have not seemed, there'll be like those brief moments where sometimes Sam will like be in it, like when Franco came over to Elizabeth's house, and it was Sam, Elizabeth, and Franco all talking. And she had like a couple moments where she kind of saw how Franco was acting with Jake, that you could just see her kind of reacting and stuff. But other than that, she is not really budged an inch when it comes to how she feels about Franco. Do you feel like she should? Do you feel like, nah, this is what you got to accept, this is always going to be the dynamic between these two?
I don't expect them to ever be best friends, but in order for her to have a healthy relationship with Elizabeth and Jake, like Franco is a part of their lives, she sort of needs to come to at least an understanding. And as someone who comes from a family where we do have issues in the family of, you just come to an understanding with this person, no matter what they've done in the past, for the sake of the rest of the family. And it's kind of selfish when you can't do that.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, well, if you look at like Sam's relationship with Julian, I mean, she saw what she did with Alexis. I mean, she's pretty much cut him out of her life just for that. And certainly, holding a knife up to your mother. It's tough to look the other way, I suppose.
And Julian so far has not done so much to make up for that, as opposed to Franco in this situation. I do see Sam eventually forgiving Julian at some point. But the thing with Franco is, he's sort of part of the family as well right now. When are you going to come to that understanding there? Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great to know what Lucas thought of this whole thing?
I know.
Yeah.
Well, where is he?
We'll never know. We will never know. Apparently not. One other thing after the funeral, what I did like is there are several characters. Ava does sneak in, pay her respects there. But we have like this weird photographic backdrop, this gray screen that they set up at wherever the coffee shop or whatever that everybody decided to always sit in front of that weird, it looked like a little photo studio backdrop that they were sitting in front of. I'm like, this seems like such a weird place to eat.
Yeah, very cheesy.
Yeah, but we get to see first Ava and Scotty there. Figuring out where I like that partnership, and I don't ever want it to get romantic, but I would love to just see. I guess it almost, in a sense, seems like Lucy and Scott 2.0 in a sense, where just two people up to get their schemes, and they seem to have a genuine friendship and want to help each other out. I don't know. Do you like Ava and Scott? Or you're like, if we're gonna do this and have it be like this, why don't we just have Lucy and Scott?
I actually really like the Ava-Scotty dynamic, because to me it's a little bit different. Lucy is very quirky, much like Scott. Ava's sort of the bad girl, and, the Scotty Baldwin that we're sort of building right now is more like a Saul Goodman character, and I like that, and I feel it works here, and now Lucy's involved too. She's blackmailing Ava, and it's kind of funny, yeah.
And I do like that Lucy knows exactly what Scotty's up to right away. Just like, yep. You want these pills? Nah, yeah, you want to wine me and dine me, and then you're just going to think you're going to take these pills from me. So I did like that. Lucy is no fool.
No.
You're not going to pull one over on her that easily. Even let Scotty get you a nice steak.
He's trying.
I love it. Scotty and his steaks. I cannot get enough of that. And sending somebody to Sing Sing. That's his other big deal. I'll send you to Sing Sing. I'm curious how long this Ava thing is going to be under wraps before it gets blown up.
Well, and to me, it's just like, why did we even bother with that? Because but I think it's going to tie into, and Brian McGee actually made a good suggestion later, sort of a prediction that Olivia Jerome may be the one behind the bombing to get back at Julian because he, was the one who killed her years ago. And then, this whole Ava switching the meds thing, who knows, Olivia, that may be tying into all the Jeromes being blamed for this. But I think it'll be the big domino that knocks down is Olivia. And I think you really are onto something based on what I know. Yeah. So there you go, Brian. Pretty good prediction. We'll see.
Interesting. I know Lacretia, and I forgot to ask you last week after the show, where you're like, I know some things that I can't talk about yet. I'm like, I got to ask her. And then I never did. I'm like, what is this thing that Lacretia knows? I mean, we get a little tip because, if jumping over to Julian, Julian and Curtis again meeting, and of course doesn't go well for Curtis. He gets the boot this week. Because there's that Oscar Gentry, is that whatever the guy that they have the name for?
Yeah.
Julian is like, get off of this. What are you doing? But we find out that this guy is in play. This guy that used to work for the Jerome family. And Julian's talking to him at the end of the week saying, all right, I did what you said. How long? So it looks like he's been under this guy's thumb for months. So does this explain everything like Julian did with Alexis?
Well, didn't you say that when Fidel was here that he said that they had a plan for Julian? And
yes.
I feel that all of this is sort of unraveling because to me, the thing is because I was like, they're going to blame Ava for Morgan's death and all this. And I'm like, no, I think it's going to be that's going to be a very minor part of this bigger Jerome mess. And then they're sort of going to explain Julian's actions by being under someone's thumb. Because, how could you redeem Julian when he tried to kill Alexis? But who knows, maybe he was being mind controlled or this or that. And you gotta have something.
Yeah, I mean, I guess at least Fido was saying that perhaps what if somebody's been doing something for other reasons, and now with this statement where he says he's been kind of doing what this guy's wanted for months, which would then backpedal over Carlos's death and the attempted murder of Alexis. So was he doing this on somebody else's orders? And does that? I don't know. Well, but I can't imagine that he was saying now kill your wife. I don't know if that, and if it was just that Julian just kind of got overwhelmed and kind of snapped and was just instinctually just kind of lashing out, and Alexis just got caught up in that. I don't know, finding out that he may be under somebody else's thumb, but does that excuse his actions? Could you see Alexis forgiving him?
I don't see her forgiving him for if it was just he was under someone's thumb. There had to have been something else, maybe we know how mind control and things like that. It wasn't really Julian somehow, whether it was tumor, mind control, something like that. But if it's just he was told to do that, I don't see her forgiving him for just that. And it was Oscar Jessup, according to Alicia Rutherford. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Alicia.
Yes.
Appreciate it. Forgot my Oscars. There's so many Oscars in the world. But the one we got to worry about is Oscar Jessup. And even Sonny acknowledges that he's heard that name too as well. So it seems like this guy is going to lead us to something else, which Lacretia knows and she won't share. That's fine. Fine, Lacretia. I'll ask her after the show. Yeah. That's right. I won't tell you guys. I'm sorry.
I was sworn to secrecy.
Did this happen back at the fan event that you did?
No, but it did involve alcohol and secrets. So, whatever happens
things.
When you're drinking, just,
there you go. Peach schnapps.
Yep.
There you go. I get it. But going back to Curtis getting the boot, our poor guy's without a job. He got his 2-week severance, but he's just kind of floating around. And I did because when Carolyn Henderson was here a couple weeks ago, said she got a chance to do a scene with Donnell. So now we get to see that scene in action. Yes. And she stiffs him with a check. It's all right, thanks for picking up my tab there.
I like that. It's that's so Diane. We need more Diane.
Yes. We did get some nice Diane moments in here. Anytime she comes into the police department and starts reading them the riot act is always fantastic. And at this point, if you see Diane, just to know that if you are going to mess with Sonny, you've got to make sure you've got everything addressed correctly, because Diane, she comes in and says the same things every time, and those people haven't done it. How many times do you have to have Diane come in here and yell at you guys because you never do what she says?
You never do it.
I need time with my client. Nope, you're not going to get that. I'm sorry. Do you want me to be filing a little... some charges?
Yeah, to me, has Diane ever lost a case? I've tried to think about it, but it's when she steps in, you're like, oh, well, they're going to get off.
Yeah, the only
More ways than one, guys.
and chat room, feel free to correct us, but the only one that I can think of is, well, I mean, Alexis's. There you go. Thank you.
Sorry, that was
Alexis,
a little late.
It worked.
suspension of her law license, and then Maxie's not getting her the custody, joint custody.
Yeah, I think, and there have been a few times, but
Yeah.
certainly with mob related, she always, and the tumor defense.
Yeah, I feel when it's when it comes down to life and death, it may not, it's like you might not be able to keep your job or your loved one close to you for a while, but life and death.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's got you.
Diane Miller, that's who you want representing you. She will take care of you. So, I mean, because just even see the trailers for next week, where we see, that Alexis, like Dark Days for Thanksgiving, and things are coming for Alexis, and it looks like she like runs over somebody now with her drunk driving and stuff. What are you? This Alexis drinking storyline is just killing me. How are you feeling about this Alexis storyline?
I like this storyline for Alexis, not all parts of it, but I think that it's way more interesting to see someone dealing with a problem because of choices she's made in her life and, not really involving a man. I mean, that's sort of what led to this, but the more it goes on, it's actually become more about losing her job. And I think that was a really bold move for them to go with, making this, Alexis, really upset about, losing her marriage, losing her job. And it's really more of a human storyline that could teach a lesson. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, supposedly if, as Diane texts Alexis and says, hey, good news, at the beginning of the year, we could have another reevaluation of your law suspension. So I have a feeling Alexis is not going to get get her law license back. It's not going to happen that soon.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think she'll screw it up, and then it'll further fuel this drinking storyline.
Oh, man. It's just... At this point, I want to start seeing some acknowledgement. I did like that Jax used intervention. I feel like an intervention's got to happen soon. And we're going to have all the Alexis, we're going to have Alexis's daughters all there gathered around her living room, really. And she's going to be just screaming and denying it the whole time. But I feel like I'm hoping we're sooner rather than later.
And to me, as good as this seems, there are several people that are missing, is Anthony Gary and Tyler Christopher. Is if we do an Alexis intervention, they've got to find a way to get them back, because there are two people that are also very important to Alexis that, have been in their own situations like that.
Yeah.
And they would be perfect. I mean, I love her kids being there. Diane, Jax, people like that. Ned should be there. But yeah, you've got to get those two if they go that way. But a lot of the chat seems to think that our idea of having her, wake up with Tom dead in the bathroom and would have been a much better direction to go. And Michael B's like, oh my God, did she hit someone else with her damn car again?
Great. Yeah, get ready for that. Somebody's getting hit by Alexis.
Maybe the third time?
Yeah. Because to go back to that scene when all of a sudden Tom pops up in the out-of-town bar that Alexis is in, I was like, that was such a twist.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this is cool. Let's see what happens with this. And then just to find out that he just gets too scared when Alexis says, oh, yeah, I know Franco. You do? All right, I'm getting out of here. I'm taking off. I'm like, oh, that's it? And as soon as he walked out of the bar, I'm like, well, this storyline went nowhere.
Yeah, it's like, what was the point of it?
I mean, I guess other than to have a scene between Alexis and Jax, and you can find out how Jax wants to have an intervention, and she's going to blackmail Jax into not telling her daughters. I guess just to show another example of kind of how like Alexis is in denial that she has any sort of problem.
Yeah, and Michael B brings up a good point again that she has Valentine to help her. And that's why I'm like, maybe this storyline's going to go with a darker Alexis direction and them bonding as evil brother and sister. Because, yeah, I mean, for her to blackmail Jax is like shows how far she's gone.
Yeah. Well, Alexis, you bring up the magic word, Valentine. An interesting week for our new cast today on the canvas. How are you liking his week here in Port Charles?
I love Valentine. To me, he is so entertaining, and his chemistry with Anna is just off the charts. I mean, Vanola Hughes has chemistry with a slice of bread, but, their dynamic is really interesting. And what did he say to her in Latin? I feel that that's going to come maybe tie in with Faison or something.
Yeah, it's whatever that, I can't remember. It was an expression. I feel like my only issue with Valentine is like when Stefan came on, and I thought that was a cool addition to the casting family. But I felt like the drama was like you didn't know where he fit in the Cassadine family. Was he a good guy? Was he a bad guy? Was he a mixture of both? Was he just like the pure evil that Laura and Luke had always associated with? I mean, Laura had feelings for Stefan, so you felt like she could see the good in him, but you never know exactly what the deal is. And I thought that ambiguity played cool because you never know how he was going to act in certain situations.
Yeah, I always liked Stefan. Yeah.
And I felt like bringing Valentine on, we see him just right from the get-go be evil and kill Nicholas. And so I feel like as an audience, like we lose that ambiguity. We already are thinking the worst of him in every situation.
And I feel that they did that, but Nicholas was going to be okay initially, so it's hard for them to dig him out of that when we're still led to believe that Nicholas is dead. So hopefully they fix that, because as you say, I mean, evil action, but if they turn out to be alive, people are able to sort of forgive and forget that. But when they're gone, it's hard for people to think about anything else, because a lot of Valentine's other actions so far have not been that shady, other than that one.
Yeah, although, I mean, I feel like the Claudette thing certainly seems shady. And interesting that nobody's asked to see if, I mean, because they do have that photo of Claudette where they think leaving from behind.
Yeah.
I mean, what? Was somebody look at the back of Valentine's neck just to see, like, yep, that looks like the same kind of haircut and neckline that's right next to Claudette leaving this plane. He was on the plane with her. Nobody seems to be asking, like, hey, maybe why don't you see? Has this guy been on this plane at all?
I feel that Griffin and Anna have at least said something in regards to he maybe knows where Claudette is, but it really is hard for the audience as well as the other people in Port Charles to see Claudette's side and truly believe, other than the stuff that they know about Valentine, because Claudette is a liar. I mean, and that's sort of the thing that hurts her case. It's unfortunate, but you've lied about so much. I mean, maybe you're lying about Valentine.
And I mean, because we're still going with underneath the idea that really the child is really Lulu's and Stavros' baby.
Oh yeah.
So I guess we're waiting to find out when that reveal happens and how the heck that Valentine, who's been kind of ostracized from the Cassadine family, how he ended up in possession of this child. I'm curious to hear that story.
I know we had the girl come into the interrogation room with Dante and Lulu and talk about how Helena had come back and said, like, it was done and all this. And that's why I think that maybe Claudette and Valentine did this together, that she did carry the embryo as opposed to the woman that was hired and lived in the house. And that's, was their plan. Somehow they figured out that this embryo existed, and that was their way of, because Claudette is a schemer, always looking for, her con, very much how Hayden came in. So it's like maybe this was their way of trying to get the money, and Claudette had double-crossed him, or, he turned out to be too evil. But I don't think so. I think we're supposed to much feel like Stefan with Valentine, where sometimes he's bad, sometimes he's good.
Yeah, because I mean, certainly his interactions with our good old, I keep forgetting her name, her C name. It's not Claudette, it's the daughter. What's her name? I'm blanking on her name.
I know. I'm like,
yes, that poor girl. But I mean, she certainly is very fond of him. So I mean, you see that interaction, and you're like, well, I mean, he certainly has a soft spot for her, so he can't be all bad.
Yeah, and that is the thing, is he clearly does care about this child that I can't even think of her name now either. She's adorable, but the chat roll, please help us. We're blanking here.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess that's the nice thing I like, though, is that any evil character is not evil 24/7.
Yeah.
There's always something that they are caring about. And so nice if this is Valentine.
Charlotte. Michael V.
There
Thank
you
you.
go. Thank you. Charlotte, yes. So if Charlotte is the thing that he cares about the most, whether he knows that he's not truly the father, but he still is affectionate towards her and does feel very parental towards her, then that's a nice little kind of feel like, all right, then I guess I can root for him a little bit.
Yeah, and much like, in the, custody room battle they had, she was affectionate towards Valentine. She was not afraid of him. So that's why, their case was hard to make because, and again, they know about what happened in Cassadine Island with him. But other than that, you don't know what all of this other stuff is. And especially with someone, and even the judge pointed out, Claudette was known to lie about all these things.
Yeah, I feel like we need to. I feel like Claudette's going to come back on the canvas at some point. So whenever that's going to be, to kind of address this, because I feel like that, whenever the reveal is, that she's really Lulu and Stavros' kid, that we got to she's got to come back on.
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing. They probably have, maybe a plan laid out for sweeps to reveal that because, they love to hold on to who's the baby daddy of the child all the time. So
yeah, I mean, I wonder if it's going to be something like where Nathan and Maxie, they go off on a road adventure to try to find Claudette wherever she's being hidden, if that's the case.
Yeah, that would be interesting. And then bring in, like, Dante and Lulu, because that would be who would go with them. And then that's when they discover it. Give them a good storyline.
Yeah.
Not about babies.
Gosh, that'd be great. I mean, and to go back to those nice road adventures that the GHU used to do. I mean, if they're trying to be the new Frisco and Felicia, have them go on and go off and do that thing.
Yeah,
that'd be cool. The Luke and Laura and Frisco and Felicia. Let's see. Oh, that's a little Luke and Dante. Yeah, maybe not the same stature.
Yeah.
But we also see Valentine interacting with Laura, and Laura, I feel like also somebody else that until Nicholas decides to come back on the canvas, whether it's Tyler Christopher or some other actor that reestablishes that role. I mean, she's somebody that's not going to budge on her feelings towards Valentine as well.
And that makes total sense because in Laura's mind, he killed her son. So Laura hating Valentine is one of those that totally makes sense. Yeah.
And also stole her grandson's inheritance.
Exactly. Well, poor little Spencer. What's he going to do? He can't, he won't have Alfred anymore.
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh. But now he's going to be residing there at Cassadine Island. So those sets aren't going away. We've got another Cassadine living it up in there.
Yep.
With all this, with another Cassadine on the canvas, and possibly like the increase in the amount of Jeromes we're going to see floating around on the show, do you miss the fact that, at least for now, Helena is off canvas?
Yeah, I feel that this is the perfect time for Helena to be involved. And I don't know if it's maybe Constance's, work schedule and other things, because she's very busy, or if they've just decided to maybe, make Valentine more of the evil Cassadine that shows up when deeds need to be done, because she is getting older and maybe wants to retire soon. So they sort of had to pass the torch of evilness.
Yeah, I mean, and James Patrick Stewart's awesome. So, I mean, if you're going to pass it on, he does it great. But I always thought it was interesting with Helena was more on the canvas, and yet still Stefan and Nicholas, where she was so doting on Nicholas, wanted him to kind of grow into being a full Cassadine, and yet looked down on Stefan so much for being just another failure of a child in the Cassadine line. It's like, no, Nicholas is the true inheritance. And even as their relationship grew, and she was always trying to. She would have those moments of like tenderness towards him, but then also would just be not afraid to be cold and ruthless to make sure that he acted in a more Cassadine-centric interest as opposed to, don't worry about these Spencer roots that you have. No, you are Cassadine through and through, so act like it.
Yeah, and that was always an interesting dynamic with her and Nicholas. And it's a shame that we didn't get to see more of that recently when Nicholas was turning more into an evil Cassadine.
Yeah, and I feel like having Valentine, I'm wondering, and maybe that's going to be more with Alexis's role and that, to have some kind of push and pull. Because I feel Cassadines are more interesting when they have another Cassadine to kind of bounce off against.
Exactly, and we still don't know who Nathan's father is, and he looks like he could be a Cassadine, so, maybe that's where all this is coming in, especially being that Anna knows Valentine from somewhere. You can sense that familiarity, especially when he talked to her. Is this going to be tying back to Faison like it had been before, or something like that?
Now, I do like, because, Griffin, we think of him as the doctor, also the priest, Dr. Hot Priest, that everybody's talking about there, his struggles. But I like that moment where we've got Valentine and Nina just like, don't feel sorry for Griffin. He's not a great guy. and it's just always nice to see somebody else, like, not be a huge fan of Griffin Monroe.
Yeah, I thought that was odd because she doesn't really know him, but it was funny. And I like Nina's dynamic with Valentine, and part of me wants to see them raise Charlotte instead of Lulu and Dante.
But then I feel bad because what I could see that she could be kind of intrigued by Valentine, and then Valentine's got a child, and I mean, he would love to have Nina in his life, and like, my gosh, he comes with the child ready right there. She could be Instamom.
Exactly.
But then it's just going to enter the payoff where we find out that Charlotte is really Lulu and Stavros' kid, and Lulu wants it back, and then again, there's Nina stripped away of a baby again. I'm like,
yeah, and that's what I don't want to see is like, even though it will be Lulu and Stavros' kid, would Lulu really want to raise this child? And that's the thing, this is where it needs to be about Lulu's journey of, do I uproot this kid? Is that the right thing to do? Even though it is her blood, it's not with Dante. And she's been so focused on wanting this other child. When you actually meet it, no, like, it's a dog is what I meant. Oh God, like that was terrible. When you meet this sweet little girl and know it's your daughter, are you going to have that connection? Because she's seen her and that hasn't been there. So you want to adopt your own child, or would you leave it with, someone who has been raising it? And that's the thing, is like, if Valentine turns out to not be that bad of a guy and Nina's there who desperately wants this child and has this connection with her, could they really take her away? Yeah.
Yeah, because, this is... But my least favorite things that they've done with Nina and Michelle Stafford is just have her just be so focused on the child. And I mean, I can understand from a character standpoint. I mean, she lost her baby. She was in a coma for this time. And now she made that time for her to naturally have a child of her own has kind of gone by. And given her kind of dubious mental background, when she came out of the coma, the chances of her probably adopting are pretty slim as well, unless she does something illegally. So I feel like to have her go through that again, like you set up this character again just to take the wind out of her sails. Like, I don't know if I want to see this.
And that's why I'm hoping that maybe Lulu has a change of heart, especially because Michael B. points out the real question is, will Dante want to raise that kid? And I know Dante said that conceptually, just like Lulu wants it conceptually, but when it's actually there, are you really going to want to take that step? And especially if, say, someone like Nina, who they do like and they do want to see be this mother, and this is probably going to be her only chance, if that is what comes to fruition. Lulu and Dante, I know that they did this whole thing with adoption back in the day that they were denied, but most people forgot about that. I mean, they have other options just because of who they are versus who she is.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I did. I mean, it was. Those are nice scenes there where you have Valentine Griffin and Anna right there in crimson, arguing or quietly arguing, while Charlotte and Nina are in the back, like just putting on the stethoscope, check out my heartbeat.
Yeah, that was cute. Yeah.
So I mean, it's cool interactions, and I feel like as Nina, much as like I don't want to get involved with you again, you can see her still eventually gonna make her way over to be hanging out with Valentine.
Because he's just so sexy.
Oh, there you go. Can't get enough of that sweet Valentine. Now, another couple that going on this week, we got a little J-Sam action. And I know before the show, Lacretia was like, man, I can't wait to tell everybody how much I loved all the J-Sam scenes this week.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. Yeah, that's the thing, is what are they doing with them? And I know we get so much hate after we say this, but it's because they were such an awesome couple. And it's not a Steve Burton versus Billy Miller. It is just a matter of Billy Miller and Kelly Monaco have the chemistry. It's the storyline that is so freaking boring. It's like, where are they going with them? I just don't care anymore.
Yeah, it's taking such a long time, and I feel like the GH writers, they have some plots they like to fast track and some they have on slow burn. Yeah. And it seems like, unfortunately, this J-Sam is just on the really long, slow burn, where I have a feeling the writers may have some kind of end game in mind or what their next step is for them, but man, it's taken forever to get there. Yeah. And the stuff between here and there is not interesting to watch, and I can't imagine it's interesting for them to be excited to play right now. Unless they know where it's going.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is I know we're in sweeps month, but it seems like we've sort of drug out this, Morgan's death thing for this portion of sweeps. So I guess I see a lot of these storylines like the Stavros and Lulu's kid being Charlotte, J-Sam maybe getting something, gearing up towards February, but it's like, how long are we gonna have to endure this?
Like the phone call between Jason and Sam was like, oh yeah, I had a doctor's appointment today. Like, oh, I'm sorry, I missed it. I'll be back to the next one. But then my second trimester. I'm like, oh my gosh, are we listening to this conversation?
It's like, why are we having this?
Why are we writing? Why'd you write this? Why are we watching this? I don't understand.
Thank you, Kelly from PEI. We love you. Storyline sucks for J-Sam. Yep.
And I mean, We've talked about it. The chat room's talked about it so many times that the possibilities for Jake Doe, Jason Morgan / Jason Quartermain, and so many possibilities, and it just seems like it's all steering back towards him becoming best buddies with Sonny again, because he's vowed to Sonny that he's in for the long haul wherever this takes. This whole finding out who truly set this bomb for Morgan.
Yeah, and I feel like when Jason finds that out, what's next for him? That is the thing, is so that's what they've geared him towards. And it's like, okay, where are we going? I mean, they've got the baby all along the way, but it's still just like, is that it for Jason and Sam? Do we even care? I know Stephanie Stegner in the chat says, where are the kick-ass characters? Like I said last week, they're just boring and nauseating. Yeah.
Yeah, so because they seem to be, Jason seems to make a really big deal, like now that he's had these experiences as Jake Doe and stuff, this has kind of changed his mindset a little bit, and he's got one son and another child on the way. And so he's basically been able to extricate himself from that mob life. He's free and clear, it seems like. So, I mean, and they seem to be happy with that decision, but he just keeps finding himself reasons to be involved with Sonny, and her certainly his connection with Morgan and with Carly would want to find out like who's truly responsible for this. So I can understand this, but when they do find out whoever's responsible, he's going to have to make a choice, and I can't see him, given everything they've set up and how adamant he seems about not wanting to be involved in this life again, for him to get to find out who Morgan's killer truly is, and say something. Okay, well, I found that out for you. I'm going to go now.
Yep,
Bye-bye.
That's it. I know that several people are suggesting maybe they work with Curtis, since Curtis was fired with Julian, and bring Curtis in. And then, because Jason doesn't really have a job. He has the ELQ stock, but it's like either you work at ELQ or you work with Sam as PI.
Yeah.
Just seriously, don't go back to the mob. It'll be like if Carly goes back to Sonny. Done.
Man, I would love the idea of Curtis and Jason and Sam doing something together.
Yeah, that would be
really
interesting.
cool.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to see some Curtis and Sam scenes just to see how that kind of dynamic works. Because what I've seen of Jason and Curtis is a lot of fun, and it'd be cool to see how that would work out. So that if that led that direction, it'd be cool. Because I feel like he's going to want. I get the idea that Curtis, even though he's fired or he has 2 weeks severance, I feel like Curtis is still. He seems the kind of guy that if he's gotten started on something, he's going to follow through until he gets to the end.
Yeah,
Seems
he
like that.
doesn't care if he's getting paid. He is one of those that will find out no matter what, just because he wants to know and he wants to help. It's not about the money with him. He's just trying to pay his bills.
Yeah. So I feel like him pursuing this is still going to lead him into Jason and Sam's orbit, which would be a good deal.
Yeah, and a lot of people like the bromance with Jason and Curtis. You know,
Yeah.
They got each other's number, but they've also sort of understand each other. It works. Oh.
Another bromance that Curtis had was with good old Dr. Finn.
I know.
And so with this week, it's all been about Finn and Hayden, and she's septic, guys. She's septic from all this stuff.
Yeah, I don't know why they made her sick. And to me, it feels like it was a pylon for Elizabeth's story and for theirs, and it's just like, I don't feel that this was necessary. It's like we could have had them just sort of slow burn get together like we had it. You know, finding the cure with him. I mean, Robin was around. Why didn't we use that? Or, you know, to make Elizabeth feel guilty. Like, hey, she saved your life. You need to save hers, sort of thing. I'm like,
Yeah, it's because basically we just get the payoff of Elizabeth going there, dropping off some medical supplies since Finn quit GH, and then Elizabeth storming out saying, you know, and in the future I'd appreciate it if you told me the truth about what all this is going on before I, come over and help you out again. Like, what? Okay, fine, thanks. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye, Elizabeth. Yeah, I'm hoping this is not. She doesn't have the disease.
yeah, I mean, hopefully it's something else and, just was a coincidence. But yeah, it's like, okay, we don't care about this disease anymore. Let's just get Robin in here, cure it, next story.
Well, because I feel like he is not a character that needs that disease to make him interesting.
He's quirky. He's fun. He's got Roxy. Where's Roxy? I'd rather see Roxy than there's some disease he has.
Yeah, I pretty much reached my limit of scenes of watching him inject himself.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, great to watch for a little while, but I've reached I feel like I've gotten my Finn injecting himself scenes. I've got my quota. I'm good. I'll move on. And I guess our last little round of characters, as we're getting towards the end of the show here, is we got Nell and Nell and Michael in their little flirtatious chess game.
They do have chemistry, and I do like that we're learning little bits more about Nell's crazy. Michael needs a crazy girl after Sabrina. I'm sorry. It's like, I want to see where this goes. It's actually getting to where I'm like, oh, Nell's got a secret, and it's tied to the kidney. It's tied to Jack, Sonny, Carly. It's like, what is it? I'm actually curious with this one.
I'm hoping that Jax is around long enough for us to understand, even if he doesn't tell everybody, but he tells at least somebody, or we as the audience get to see what the full extent of this is before he leaves. And then have, even if the audience knows, that'd be great. And then we can have the rest of the characters find out. But I feel like if he leaves and we're still up in the air about what really happened, that's going to be really frustrating to me.
Yeah, I feel that, or at least I hope that before Jax leaves again, that we do figure out what her deal is, at least on our end, and the other stuff can come.
Because what was also frustrating me too is, again, the scenes between Bobby and Carly, and that fact that Bobby never just said, like, she is just like you when you first came to town. She seemed all nice, but she had alternative motives. And you got to just keep an eye out, just be on alert. And I feel like, why isn't Bobby saying that to her?
Yeah, because I get Bobby being suspicious because Carly did the same exact thing to her. And, I feel like Bobby may have been embarrassed because she really did have a reason. That may be why she didn't say anything. But I feel that Bobby's got her number and is going to be watching her. And I did like that Bobby will be going back to the hospital. Mm-hmm. So at least we'll be seeing that. But no word on Bobby's son, Lucas.
Yeah, it's just because I feel like it's frustrating that, Carly's like, oh, well, I guess Bobby's just really emotional about Morgan's death. Like, no, Bobby, don't blame that on that. She had you at a moment destroy her life back when you first came into town. You guys worked past it, and you guys are now, really close, but still, that doesn't change the fact that when you came to town, you had an agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like Nellie Mac91 says she might find a way to take the hotel from Carly. I'm like, a way she could do that is because the hotel was given to Connie Falconeri, the other half from Jax when he left. And Olivia is now awarded that because she was the closest relative. But what if, say, Nell is related to the Falconeris, being Connie's child? I never thought about Connie until they brought that up. I'm like, because that would be a reason she would hate Carly, have issues with Jax and Sonny, too.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it's... She's got some agenda, and she's not afraid to open up somebody's mail, read it.
Nope.
I'm curious to see what's in that letter that, because I did like Michael bring up, like, he didn't write down exactly what he said in the church, so there's something else in this letter. And clearly it's something that Nell's like, whoa.
Yeah.
So it's basically, I just set up these trusts, and I was like, I felt like everything that Carly that she read in that letter, the build-up for it was not worth the payoff.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think there was more to it. Yeah.
We'll see what happens, but I did like her. I did like the trick that she did, where she took some of the holy water and just moistened the envelope to seal it back up again.
Yeah,
I was like, did that work?
I don't know,
guys. Let's try it at home. Somebody open up our loved one's mail and then seal it with some water. See if it works.
Holy water. You got to use the holy water.
You have to go to church. Yeah, it's special blessed water. So I guess that's going to be bringing us towards the end of that. So I can't think of any other storylines. I think we hit everything. Is there anything that you?
I mean, Griffin punched Valentine. I don't think we mentioned it, but it was like that happened. I like that. I like seeing Griffin get a little bit dirty.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see because the idea is that he would want to, he was trying to be like a father, even though he wasn't biologically related.
And it was good to see Anna being the one to support him. I like that, she has sort of got Griffin in her life where she had Patrick, It's a matter of she's being motherly to these guys who've lost their mothers. And it's actually nice because it's not weird or anything. She just wants to help out.
Yeah, very true. Because I did like her little talk with Griffin saying, like, you don't have to be biologically related to be family because you're my family. And I was like, that's a nice little moment, Anne. Finola Hughes, you sell everything and make it
exactly.
Yes. Oh, so good. So good. But, folks, that's going to bring us to the end of this episode of the GH Report. But as always, folks, like us on Facebook. Give us those 5 stars on iTunes. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thanks for hopping in the chat. Any last words? Anybody in the chat have anything to share?
Well, Kelly in PEI says, Mad Griffin is sexy Griffin. How can you get better than that?
How can we end the show any better than that? Thank you, Kelly from BEI. But folks, if you want to continue the conversation with us even after the show's over, we'd love to chat with you on the Twitterverse. So, Lacretia, where can they find you?
You guys can always find me at LACRETIALYON anywhere on the internet, since there is only one. And stay tuned for the Restless wrap-up right after this.
There you go. Yes, Sunday Soap Block continues, except for the Bowl Breakdown. James Lott Jr., he's gone.
He's gone, Yeah.
He's he's out touring the countryside, answering fans' questions and signing autographs. So no bowl breakdown this week, but it'll be back next week. In fact, we'll be here next week, Thanksgiving weekend as well too.
Yeah.
Because we love you. That's our gift. We're thankful for you fans, and so we want to do a show for you.
Yes.
My nose is a little brown because I'm kissing up to you guys so much. You can follow me on Twitter at HappyGoJackie, and we'll see you next week right here with a Thanksgiving edition of the GH Report here on AfterBuzz TV. Bye, everybody.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.